Welcome back to the Mid-Year Mitch YouTube channel. In today's episode, I'm going to show you my custom build to make an electric double piston caulking gun to fit this 200 milliliter tube, which is my favorite adhesive to use when gluing Corvettes together. Currently, there's nothing on the market that will directly fit this, so I'm going to show you how I modified a couple different caulking guns to make an electric one to make installing fiberglass body panels much easier, so be sure to stick around. I've made a lot of progress on the Centerfield 65 Corvette. Now the next step is to glue the front end on, and typically what I would do is use my 3M08115 cartridge, and I'd put it in this manual gun here. And that works fine for a while, but you know, it gets really tiring going around a whole seam for a front end or a quarter panel, rear deck, whatever it is. Your hand gets cramped pretty quick. So I looked long and hard to try and find a electric option, and there's not a lot of options out there for two piston electric caulking guns. But I found this one, which you can tell by the way that it's not made in the United States. Weird, I know. But I found this one on Amazon. This was really the only one I could find, and it wasn't that expensive. But I figured I would have to modify it because it has a 1-to-1 ratio for the tubes where both of these pistons are the same diameter, where the one that we need has a small and a large piston, which you can see here. Also, the spread is wrong a little bit here, and then this is designed for a larger cartridge as well, so this won't even hold this cartridge. So what I did is I bought a second one, but turns out it was either misrepresented or I got the wrong one from Lowe's. But this isn't the same as this guy, but it's closer because this one actually holds the cartridge in this little plastic gripping thingy, but it doesn't quite grab here, and it's still a little too long, where this one had just, I don't know, about an inch of room. This one has a couple inches. So what I'm gonna do is take both of these two apart, and I'm gonna cut the cage off of this, slim this down so that way it actually grips the cartridge, cut the flange off of this one, use this flange onto this cage, and then I'll be able to hold this cartridge on this gun. But now these pistons are the wrong diameter, so I'm either gonna have to turn one of these down, or I might just be able to steal one of the plastic ones from this guy. So the hope is to take these two and make one electric one that is comparable to this. If it doesn't work, I still have this as my original standby with some extra parts from this guy, but it'll also be nice to be able to have two of these things, so I can use an electric one, and if someone else is here, they can use this guy, and we can tag team a panel just to get stuff done quicker. So here's all the parts I didn't use. I didn't use the old mechanical mechanism, the flange that went with this, and the cage that went to the electric one. So what I did, which you probably saw in the video, is I took the flange from this one, the cage from the manual one. I had to cut about 1/10 out of it, so that way that this cage would grip the tube, and then I shortened it about 1 inch, so that way it's just not excessively long. And then I ended up taking one of the stops, or one of the little pistons from the manual one. I had to drill it out so that way it would match this diameter, but it's also important to make sure that these two are at the same distance, so it's flat, so that way you're not getting a lot more of one component than the other. So I made sure that they're level, and that seems to work out really well. Now this thing is actually pretty decent. It has 5 speeds on it, which probably 3, 4, and 5 are the most useful. And then whenever you engage it, it automatically retracts. It has a trigger in the back here that you can manually push the slide up. So far it works good. I just put a little bit of, I just ran it a little bit. If I can push it forward, just to show you guys that it actually works. I think we're getting close, getting closer. Still moving. I probably should turn the speed up a tickle. Okay, apparently I didn't wind this in far enough. Okay, now we're wound in far enough. Now let's try it. Oop, here we go. And just like that, it's ripping. So there you go. So it works. Now it's time to put this thing to use, and I won't be getting the hand cramps. So I got to put the inner fenders in this front end, which you'll see in a separate video. But I'll be able to now run beads of adhesive pretty much continuously. I won't have to keep stopping because my hand's cramping, so I'll be able to let this thing rip, change the speed if I need to go a little slower or a little faster, and I'll get some adhesive on these, get this stuff glued on, and this thing is going to come in handy. Now, I got this guy off of Amazon. I got the manual one from Lowe's, and I have like less than $300 in the whole setup. It comes with a battery and a charger, and it seems to work pretty well. So I guess I'll run a couple beads just to show you, but I have a whole separate video on installing this front end. But I'll just show you that it works in case you're skeptical. Alright, so I glued the inner fenders in, and I used my new gun, and that thing worked actually really well. I had one failure on it because I had the speed up too high, and that just basically pushed one of the parts past the seal in there, and it made a big old mess on my gun, and I kind of killed the end of a tube. So, lesson learned, use speed 1, don't use 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. It's nice having those other features, but slow and steady wins the race. So overall though, it worked really well. It pumped out the right amount of glue. I got good looking seams, and I just went back with my manual one and just kind of filled in a couple little areas that had a little bit of a void. So that just seemed to work out fine. I'm really happy with the results. So this guy, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. It did what it was supposed to do. It pumped out the glue, and it was a lot easier than sitting there doing this by hand. So it's definitely a time saver. Just took on a half hour, 45 minutes to modify. If you have this one, it'd be a lot easier to modify it to work with this, just because you don't have to modify the size of the holder like I did. But highly recommend it. And if you have any questions, let me know. But it's a pretty simple design, and should hopefully save you guys some time too. But that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Comment down below what you thought about this, or if you just happen to find one on the market that I didn't see. The ones I saw were like $1,000, so this was way cheaper than that, building my own. So who knows, now that I made one, there's probably going to be a version out there very soon. But there's nothing that I could find. This one works really well. So I got a lot of work to do, and I'll catch you guys later.